that's what offends people. Do you think that you, perhaps, certainly President Obama, bear any responsibility for the fact that race relations are beginning to crumble in this country? Because you've got a lot of people that are saying, a lot of white folks are saying, listen, I ain't never had a slave. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying to pay my rent. And you're talking about the voting being on level when blacks outvoted whites in the last election. At some point, do we give that up?
You know, history is what happened was when the protections moved, the same people who had tried to undermine the Voting Rights Act were able to do so, as I say, by gerrymandering the lines. And essentially, the South is virtually now a white Republican Party and a black Democratic Party because they were able to redraw the lines. Right. Nothing changed except technicality.
But now, the bottom line is that people have access to vote. This is what I want to ask you because we're running out of time and there's so much I want to ask you. But how do you account, though, for the abysmal situation in Democratic-run cities? In other words, you know, we're talking about the Voting Rights Act, but there have been a lot of cities where black people have voted in large numbers. And those are the cities where you have now the highest crime rates. You've got the highest instances of income inequality, and you have the most despair. Cities like Detroit, when they first elected the first Democrat, it was considered the Paris of the West. Cities like Chicago are starting to fall apart. Major cities where black people have had the right to vote, like Baltimore, and yet they're completely falling apart. At some point, does the progressive theme of somehow engineering success or outcomes backfires?
Whatever the label is, in those areas where you have the least investment and the most divestment, you have the most highest unemployment. For example, in Chicago, they closed 50 public schools, 50 drugstores, 75 grocery stores.
But who is they? Aren't the Democrats running that city? Haven't they run that city for almost 100 years? I don't. But
it does not matter. The name of the tyranny does not matter. And I am less concerned about the Democrats than I am about the democracy. If it's not working, we have to fix it.
Sure.
And it simply costs more to incarcerate our youth and educate them. The abnormality that one sees is not natural just because it's normal. We all can do better.
There's no doubt about that, sir. But here's the thing. You're saying if it hasn't worked, that's what I'm saying. Okay, we're fighting about, maybe an incident at a voting booth here or there. But for the most part, what we're not talking about is when we do vote, what do we vote for? What's the outcome? And if it's not working, why don't we try something different?
Well, you take, for example, South Carolina has a budget of $7 billion. 45% is federal, by the way. 1 million people in poverty, or 250,000 have no health insurance. About 50% white, about 50% black. That's it refuses $12 billion in Medicaid. How can you have a $7 billion budget and refuse $12 billion to do what? To build rural facilities for health care, extend people's lives. I mean, that's a good program that's being rejected, and there is no justification for it.
Well, you know, there's no such thing as free money. We know that. There is some sort of we know there have been a lot of Faustian deals. Real quick, we're running out of time. You mentioned the GOP debates. What was your overall take on it, besides the fact that the Voting Rights Act wasn't mentioned? Did you feel like there was someone out of that field between the 5 o'clock and the later one in the afternoon that might be someone that even you could get behind?
Well, a lot of heat, but not much light. I mean, no one, for example, addressed the issue of the growing domestic terrorism in our country. The shooting in school, Sandy Hook, and what does it mean to have the shootings in Colorado and Louisiana? The growing number of unrest in these cities where you have this abandonment. I thought areas, they were in Cleveland, where a 14-year-old kid was shot 4 or 5 times by policemen. I think we cannot avoid these issues that matter so much to people's daily lives. I'm glad that Fox put it on, and I thought that it was well worth watching. More entertaining, however, than educating.
Well, you know what? As the field starts to get narrow, and these guys have a chance, and gals have a chance to really, explain and get a greater depth, I hope they answer your questions and more. And I appreciate you coming on the show, Reverend.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.